Dom. What's up, John?
Behold the venom produced by the head of the snake. Gaze upon the fruits of its propagation of the global war machine, commiserating its empire of destruction and misery as it slithers throughout the globe, bringing megadeath and agony to all. Beware the head of the snake. Stay vigilant, my friends. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for spending your time in the Tiger's Den. We will try not to waste it. It is September 27th, 2023 AD. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're having another special addiction episode. And I really don't have I usually have a introduction written up for not only the show, but everybody. So I'm going to do this off the top of my head, ladies and gentlemen. And what I want to focus on is what happens. We're going to go into hard financial times one way or another. Everybody's lifestyle is going to change a little bit. And what happens with people when that happens is they tend to try to seek shelter, not think about it, hide from it. Cognitive dissonance kicks in a lot of the times, but a lot of people will turn to drugs, alcohol. If they were an addict and they're clean now, they might go back to being an addict because just times and the stress brings them into it. Or if they were never addicts before, they might find solace in having that extra glass of wine, which turns into every day instead of the Friday, Saturday night thing with the wife or the husband. And now they're finding themselves hiding in the substance because it detaches you from reality. And I see that as a caution ahead, blinking road signs, bridges out kind of thing. It's coming for us. The financial stuff's coming for us. There's no stopping that. And I don't want, I want people to have it in their mind that, hey, I don't want to fall into the addiction that I had or deeper into my addiction or start a new addiction to hide from this horrible financial, the situation that we're going to have. And so I want to introduce my guests. First off, I would like to introduce Anne, my co-host, who is, she has extensive experience in drug counseling, and she is a flower of liberty, and she is spewing out pollen that destroys all tyrants with lice in their beard and tyranny in their breath. Also, I would like to welcome the lumberjack of liberty, Little John over there. He's over there in the mountains over there. Oh, it looks like he got wounded chopping down a tree. It must have been a tyrannical tree. Also, I would like to welcome Tom Cooper, the host of Conspiring with Mr. Cooper. He is a lightning bolt of liberty, incinerating the lies of the New World Order and the mainstream propaganda. Also, we have Jason Barker, a gale force of freedom blowing down the walls of tyranny. And with us tonight, special guest, the master of monologue and host of the New Prisoners Show, 10 a.m. Fridays Eastern Time, number 6. Thank you all. Welcome. Thank you for being patient. I was over with the Mastodon of researchers and Monica Perez, and we were discussing Columbine, and I was enthralled in the conversation, and I realized what time it was. But here we are, and thanks everybody for being patient and being around. How is everybody? Let's start with Ann first. Ladies first.
Oh, I'm doing really well. Had a busy week, had company from New York, and then my husband and I went to St. Augustine's for a few days, running around like crazy people. So, got out and about a little bit. Doing good.
That's a beautiful place. A lot of old Spanish war remnants and the walls and all the stuff that they built out of like seashells and stones and the motor that they use. That's a very, very interesting place.
It is. It is. I'll go back. I mean, we couldn't see everything we'd like to. So, yeah.
Little John, how have you been, man?
Hey, boss.
Good to see you.
I appreciate you. This is my first time on the Foxhole. Hello, everybody.
It's not the Foxhole, bro.
Oh, man. Did I miss
This is the Tiger's Den.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell you another story. I won some money from a radio station one time, and they said, so what radio station you listen to? And I said the wrong thing, and they were like, dude, you messed up. But that's just me. I've been trying to cut down on a lot of substances lately, and I think cigarettes is my hardest thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I am not joking about that.
No, it's not a joke for sure. Mr. Barker, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, brother. Podcasting's going good. We got the weather change coming here. It's cooled down a lot. I've actually got to put on a jacket at 6 a.m. when I go out on the front porch in the morning, but the leaves are starting to turn. We got a little bit of yellow out there. I got a beautiful view of kind of like a little valley, hilly area. And this is my first kind of fall here. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And I enjoy going out there every morning and seeing, we got the yellows and some of the reds. So I'm looking forward to in the next month or so, that beautiful landscape kind of soothes the soul, right?
Nice. And as Dexter from Dexter's Lab would say, your beard looks very rugged. It's a very rugged looking. So
yeah, I'm still working on that one. Maybe I'll do a poll and find out if I should trim it down or not. I don't know.
Ready for the winter. Number 6, the master of monologue. Thank you for making it, brother. How are you this evening?
Glad to be here, Tiger, and celebrating 3 years California sober. So it's
nice.
Good job.
Been an interesting trip.
Congratulations. Yeah. Excellent. Mr. Koopa, how are you this evening, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I'm alive, brother. The good Lord gave me another day to live. I can't complain.
Much more, you might be disappointed. So
right.
So, anyways, guys, I think I want to talk tonight a little bit about number one. John brought something up, cigarettes, right? Nicotine. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the nicotine. I was vaping. I quit the cigarettes for many years, and then I was vaping, and then I have done a lot of research because I had some health issues last week, and that makes Tiger go into overdrive on research on medical stuff. And I was reading a lot about the vaping, and there's a lot of chemicals in that stuff, and it's too new to really know what they're doing with it. And I think they were kind of using COVID and the vaping thing together, and it was kind of a mess. But terra firma, there's a lot of chemicals in that stuff that I don't even know if our bodies can process that. So I went back to the cigarettes, which is horrible, and I can't. The nicotine, I've quit opioids, I've quit crack cocaine, I quit alcohol, and the nicotine, I cannot shake that monkey off my back.
I have a patch on right now, and I still have a cigarette from time to time.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to get nicotine overdraw, whatever they want to call it.
Overdose.
Overdose, yeah. Thanks, Tom.
No worries, brother.
I tried the gum for a while because I was really trying to quit basically to save money. If you go up to New York, you'll see, at least when I was there, they were $10 a pack, and I told my wife we can't sustain this. And it's the same, like John said, you chew the gum, which some people get psychotic when they eat certain types of gum for that. I've seen that, but it still doesn't do away with the craving. It's the habit. I think it's a habit breaking thing. It's not even so much the nicotine, even though that's a thing, but then you got like the intake of the patch or the gum or whatever, and then you still want to smoke. And I was also doing the early version of the e-cigarettes, like the blue and stuff like that. And I literally got like nicotine sick because I was trying all this stuff, but I couldn't break the habit. And for me, it was sitting in the field, doing nothing, waiting around, talking with the Joes. That was a trigger for me. And driving's a big, big trigger for me. So I don't know about y'all if those triggers make it harder or what.
Yeah, it's an oral fixation, so it is. And I had the same problem. I've tried, and I've kind of given up on quitting at this point. I have looked into some of those like fumes. They don't have any nicotine in it. It's just like a flavored air. So eventually I might try that, but it's a tough one. For me, it's like every probably 10 minutes. So, it's trying to like put that down for a little while. And I do that. I put it away. I try to go outside and, walk around if I'm like really wanting to puff, but it's a tough one. And I know a lot of people struggle with it. And, that's why, these people are making large amount of money on cigarettes and vapes. So, they say, oh, New York quits or Florida quits. They don't want you to quit. But I think it's just, for me, I think cold turkey is it. And you just got to replace it. We talked a couple episodes ago about changing habits. It takes about 30 days. So, you just have to replace it with something positive. And I haven't gotten there yet. So I'm not going to, say, oh, you have to do it. I haven't done it myself, but that's what they say. Usually people in early recovery, if they're smokers, you're not going to ask them to quit smoking. I mean, you're already giving up something that you're in love with. So, it's a tough one.
Yeah, you answered the question I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, for people who have the nicotine addiction and they're trying to quit another addiction, is it wise to try to tackle all these things at once?
I've been doing 4 at once, and my really good friends, only a handful of them, have told me that I've been doing too much at once, and that's not good. And I'm talking about sweating the bed. I talked to Jason about that. I mean, I wake up and I'm soaking wet. I don't know what's going on. You can't sleep, and then you sleep too much. It's just like you can't tackle 4 things at once, can you, Tiger?
No. And you got to watch your health. Your physiological responses to withdrawal can be, exceedingly dangerous depending on which chemical you're withdrawing from, right? So that's super important. Hey, Six, is this your first time, if I'm remembering correctly, on the Addiction Show, isn't it?
I think the other one we did was with Graves, maybe. Yeah. So maybe this is like the first Addiction Tiger stuff I've done.
If you don't mind, could you give us a little bit of your story with addiction? I mean, I think everybody would be super interested in that.
Absolutely. With me, speaking of cigarettes before, right? Like I had tried cigarettes several times in my life, growing up around kids that played music, being in bands with guys that were just chain smokers. So you just, your gear, even like your guitar, just reeks of smoke. And I'd try it time to time just to see if I got anything from it. The only thing I ever got from it was a queasy stomach. Just never sat right with my body chemistry for whatever reason. I love cigars and the culture of cigars, and being around cigar shops and talking to old heads about anything from war stories to politics and or just joking around. I like that culture, but just for whatever reason, the nicotine buzz or anything like that doesn't sit well with me. My nicotine, that would, like, something that would be very hard for me to get rid of in my life if I wanted to, would be caffeine. I drink a pretty excessive amount of caffeine, I'd say, at least 400 milligrams a day, in most cases. And that is what most people would consider excessive. There's dangers to that. Also, like, removing that from my life might make me a little bit more of an asshole. So that's also a danger. But yeah, the biggest thing for me and drinking and deciding to get sober is that I, for a long period of my life, was obsessed with craft beer. I would travel around the country just to try different beers with friends. It would be my purpose for going places and for hanging out, would be seeking out, some of the rarest and greatest brews that were being made at the time. And I found myself in a lot of different situations because of my excessive drinking, where that was becoming way too risky of a behavior to tolerate any longer, especially concerning other people that meant a lot to me in my life. So I had to decide back in 2020, after being isolated from the world and the culture that I was used to, and sort of seeing that all go away, there was no more joy to be had in sitting and drinking alone. So I just decided that I got no more joy from it. Like all the side effects, the dehydration and other things. I have a bad lower back, so it's not good to dehydrate yourself if you have arthritis. I also started doing hot yoga, and I found myself getting into better shape. So I had even more of a reason to not want to drink because of the excess in calories and things of that nature. Plus, again, the behavior, finding other things to do with my time and other cultures to be a part of that led to something that was a little bit more positive for my life. I would always surround myself with different types of folks growing up. And some of my best friends are still even making beer at this point. But me not being a part of that doesn't mean that I don't love them any less. It just means that a part of me can't be around certain things because
Right.
it hurts me. And I had to realize that I had that type of frailty too. That I had something that was a part of my personality that leads to self-harm, that also leads to rather risky behaviors of all varieties. And one of those things that triggers like an easy one, to make sure that the next day that there's at least going to be a story that's going to be told, or a situation where maybe I should have been arrested, is going to be if you introduce alcohol, particularly whiskey. Oh my goodness, the amount of times where like that substance itself has cost me relationships, potentially my freedom. Um, there is no reason to continue down that path. I just found better ways to use my time, and especially better ways to be social. Finding podcasting over the past 2 of the 3 years that I've been California sober, which is I'm borrowing from Willie Nelson and Billy Strings. So if you look up the song, you might get what I'm referencing there. But for me, I've just found myself in a better physical place. I'm certainly lighter. It's easier to move around. I can still bench press things. I can still do yoga and do things. And also, I don't ever have to worry about getting home safe from a wedding. I don't have to
Right.
worry about if I do go out to the bar that I'm just going to hang out and have like a sugar-free Red Bull, even though that's filled with chemicals. But I'd rather drink that because I know that at least I'm going to wake up the next day.
Right.
So
Hey, I got a
I've just been in
question
a better
from
place. Yeah. Thank you.
question from the chat, and that, dude, thank you for sharing that story and sharing I mean, those are some pretty, personal thoughts that you shared. Thank you for that. Rhonda Tate wants to know if you're Cuban.
I am not Cuban B, but if that's a reference to Half Baked, then she's on to something.
I want to say hello to the people in the Tiger's Den chat over on Rumble. We got Brian Taylor. Thanks for watching. Audi, what's going on, brother? Modern Retro Radio. Narrow Gates. Levi is his name. Levi, thanks for watching. And we got Rochelle M in the TNP chat. And just want to thank. And then we got Uncle Vince, Vince Agnelli in the YouTube chat, White Wolf and Harlan Stonewell, and Karen Carpenter. Thank you all for watching. These episodes are important to us, and it's something that's near and dear to our heart. And we appreciate you guys watching. And hopefully, some other people who see this can help them, right? So let's talk about what I call surrogate activities. Okay, so I think in my way of thinking, in my wheelhouse of thinking, I think a lot of our deviations, and addiction being one of them, in our human behavior, comes from us being removed from being challenged enough mentally and physically throughout the day. Therefore, we have these surrogate activities, like we work, we do our podcasting, but I still think that there's an amount of challenge that we don't have. And then we have these, I'll use the old adage, the idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? And when you have that going on, you tend to look for shelter. There's a hole. I talk to addicts, and I can speak for myself, and maybe somebody else up here can tell me if they feel the same way. But when I was actively using, I'm California sober myself right now, but I was trying to stuff a hole, and there was not enough stuffing to fill that hole. And I didn't understand where that hole came from. And it took me years to realize that that's what I was doing. You know, I was actually doing some like a surrogate activity, and I was using this addiction to fill this void, and I didn't know why the void was there. Thoughts, Little John? Well, what we're gonna do is we'll go across. Well, no, Anne will always be first because she's the lady. So unfortunately, I'm the host. So, but anyway, we'll go Anne, we'll go Little John, JB, Tom, and then number 6, who I have to add back to the stream.
Yeah, I think filling holes is key, really, for most of the people that struggle in one way or another. I mean, you know, people overeat for the same reason. And I think, you know, the cause of it, that there's so many reasons. You know, it could be how you were raised, what you were lacking when you were raised, just trying to, you know, maybe even be perfect and you're not doing it right. And there's so many things that can, you know, make you feel like, oh, I'm not really worth it. And I feel better when I drink or drug. And of course that's, you know, short-lived. So, I mean, you know, addiction is like so big. It's hard to really explain everything that you want to explain, you know, in a short time, but everybody, you know, they experience it differently, other than maybe some of the consequences they suffer. But I also know functional alcoholics that don't really suffer a lot, other than internally. You know, they appear well, they go to work, they, you know, they do everything they're supposed to.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's filling those holes is a big one. It's a hard thing to figure out where they come from, but each individual has to do that with, you know, possibly talking about things with a friend. I don't, you know, some people aren't comfortable with going to counseling, but usually you have a friend that can, good friends will tell you and help you, you know, point out things that they see in you. And that's also a hard pill to swallow. But, you know, and also even writing, we talked about diaries before, writing down how you're feeling just every day, just starting to write. It's pretty amazing what comes out when you do that. Now, I know maybe guys don't really want to do that, but if you do, and I've known guys who have, they've been able to like key in on, oh, wow, you know, this is something that I had never known about myself, and they can, you know, process it. So like I said, addiction is so big. There's so many reasons, and there's so many things that individuals can do. You have to find the right thing for yourself that helps you. So.
Hey guys, before we go on, Risha Emma's in our chat, and she's always watching. I see her in a few different shows. She's not feeling well. Everybody, you know, who's watching, viewing, say a prayer for Risha, so hopefully she could feel a little bit better. I hope you feel better. And I hope that's you're a girl. You never know with the screen names, but everybody give a prayer out to her so she feels a little bit better. Or him. I think it's a her, but Little John. So is there a hole or what, dude? Is it this abyss that we're throwing like these teaspoons of dirt into, trying to fill, or what's up? What do you think?
Well, Tiger, I started something about 4 weeks ago, a little over that, and I'm getting into something I don't even know what I'm getting into. I'm learning as I go. I'm trying to keep busy. I'm trying to keep busy, Tiger. You know, it's keeping busy is the best thing for me.
So is that helping though, for real?
Oh yeah, and there's all the time. I mean, with the cigarette thing, well, I'll go back to it. The only way I'm going to do it is willpower. These patches ain't doing nothing. It's just like, no, you just, no. Tolerate better, but
JB,
what is normal? What is normal, Tiger?
You're asking the wrong guy, because I am not a normal person. I've been told normal is, I think normal is a dumb word to describe a person, right? I think if you want to describe the weather, you want to describe the behavior of an animal, like in the woods, or the behavior of fauna, plants and stuff, that you could use the word normal. But when you're starting to talk about people, that's a matter of perspective and what's normal to who. What's normal to me might not be normal to you. I think when we think about ourselves, I think what we need to think about is we all know when we're doing right and when we're doing wrong. The good Lord has put that inside of us, so we know that. So I think if we follow that as like a guidepost, the light to follow, I think that'll lead you the right way, as long as you can be honest with yourself, which is an extremely, extremely hard thing to do for everyone. I mean, you got to be tough. JB, what do you think of that?
I got a few things to hit on that, and I'll just start by saying with me, even though cigarettes are probably my biggest vice, and I've quit and restarted, it's about changing habits. But with the drinking is the big problem. Coming from a military background, I don't think it was that big of an issue before I went in the military. It was more of a social thing. But when you grow up in a work hard, play hard situation, you're stuck out in the field for a month and a half, whatever, and you come back and then you get all this money. You got a bunch of young men that weren't allowed to do certain things when they were under their parents' roof, right? Then you want to go out and have a good time, and drinking comes along with that. It's just part of the culture. But then you start associating the time off with the drinking. I'm playing pool. I feel like I can play pool better when I drink because I'm more relaxed. And then all of a sudden, it's just quiet weekend. Nothing's happened in the last month, and you're sitting around doing nothing. And then you associate sitting around doing nothing, relaxing with drinking. It's like it's hard to get into a habit that gets you away, because everything revolves around drinking. Or I would say drinking is a part of everything you do. And that's a huge, huge problem in the Army. I know they don't want to admit that, but it is. And a lot of people that had never drank in their life get sucked into that. And, we're talking about the replacement. John talked about finding something more constructive to do. Well, a lot of these young people don't have any hobbies, so they latch onto a friend that maybe is into mechanics and things like that. And then what comes along with that? Come over and let's work on my car. We'll have some beers. It's a very difficult situation. You almost, and then you run to the thing where if you get away from everybody and you hide in a hole, then there's the depression that comes with it. So that leads to drinking. So that was, it's been a problem with me a couple of times in my life where it's ran out of control. And of course you don't seek counseling because you're a big, bad, tough Army guy, and they tell you that, oh yeah, it's showing strength to ask for help. But nobody really believes that crap, right? They don't, because they don't want to be seen as the weak one. And we've seen people that seek help and they get chastised for it throughout the command. So what I would say is that if you find yourself where you can't do anything as a replacement to get away from the drinking, talk to a friend that maybe also wants to do the same thing. Maybe you can go fishing together or something, that's not associated with the drinking. I know I went through a tough time. And Tiger actually reached out to me because he saw I was having an issue, and he was very blunt with me, and I received it, and it really, really helped. So sometimes the counseling doesn't have to be necessarily professional counseling, but someone who actually cares and maybe needs you as well. That's the only way you're going to get out of that trap, especially being military where everything is associated, especially as an engineer. I mean, listen to some of the songs we sing. Go to some of the events we do. Everything revolves around drinking, even though they say don't drink. It's all glorified. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it, brother.
You hit something really good there with the ego, man. You mentioned that basically the ego. The ego is your biggest enemy when it comes to the addiction. 6. What do you think about the whole was it a hole for you? Like you were trying to, it sounds like you were like you had a hobby. I mean, and I love craft beer too. I never had a problem. I had a problem earlier with alcohol, but I drink once a year. Maybe some brandy, some Napoleon brandy on Christmas or something like that. I just don't like the permeation of alcohol in my mouth. But craft beer, I really enjoyed. Sounds like you kind of like had a hobby, and then it turned into more than that. And is that when you seen that? Hey, maybe I'm trying to fill a hole, or wasn't it like that for you, or how was that for you, 6?
Well, it did come down to a philosophy of sorts, right? That I lived for the experience at that time in my life. So meaning that if I were on a mission to do something, it was to achieve a certain goal. Like if I were to go to Colorado, it would be to try Pliny the Elder. And I finally got to one of the top rated IPAs at the time. Little things like that, just being able to check off little boxes, little trophies for myself. And through doing those different experiences, I would have all sorts of just wild encounters and stories. And, there's a lot of good times associated with those things. However, when it came down to it for me, like having that being as part of my drive as to what I want to do with my free time, led to a lot of excesses that also led to a lot of really risky behaviors. Driving while intoxicated being one of them. Also, getting into arguments with people, getting into fights with people. Taking certain risks with my life and sometimes even other people's lives. And then, being able to sort of skate away with it at times, but also there are times where it did cost me. So, for me, ultimately, when it came down to whether or not I wanted to make a choice, my body was just ready for it. Like there was nothing left to indulge. Like for me, when it came down to it, I had pretty much done everything I wanted to do, exploring that. I know what it's like drinking those things, having those experiences. And after a while, it's just like, even though everything at the buffet could be great, you're finally full. I think I was just finally done with it. Like I just needed to reach that apex of it where it's just like, you know what? There's nothing left to try. There's nothing left to want in this. That's good.
Right. I got you. I've partied like a rock star kind of thing, Mr. Cooper, what do you think? I mean, me and you have had talks about addiction a lot, and what do you think? Was there a hole for you to fill, or was it a good time, or what was it for you? What was it like?
Dude, I didn't drink alcohol for the taste. It all tastes like shit. Pardon my language. So I was drinking it to get drunk. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, not just alcohol, but your addiction in general. I mean,
well, I mean, I've had alcohol addiction. I stopped drinking. I've been, I never really, it's funny. I've never really got hooked on Coke. I could always maintain that, but the meth, I couldn't. The meth was like full.
That's fascinating, because I couldn't stand meth because it was like a halfway for me, and I've tried everything but injecting heroin, and you get to a point where you look in the mirror and you go, what have I done to myself? Right. And then the shame comes, and then you there's the crossroads, I call it. You're either going to go deeper into your addiction, into the abyss, or you're going to start pulling yourself out of it, and I guess I think tonight, what I kind of want to focus on is stuff that people need to do. White Wolf has a question. Methamphetamine, White Wolf, that's what meth is. Yeah, it's nasty stuff. I think the way and sorry guys, I had a crazy day on 2 shows. Did one show, then I'm on this show, and I didn't have a lot of stuff pulled up to share on the screen, but with the minds that I have here, what can people do to get their minds off of healthy activities that I'm always going to say, let's try to focus on some healthy activities for people that they can do to get their minds off of the addiction, because I don't think you should dwell on the addiction all day long. Yeah, you're trying to fight it. You're trying to stay sober. You're trying to stay clean. But if that's in the forefront of your mind, you're just going to constantly be tripping over it. I connected with nature, and to me, that was such a powerful connection. It kind of completed my connection with God. I mean, and that's my addiction now. If I don't go out in nature, I don't care if it's 2 degrees outside, I'm going to the woods for some amount of time that day because I have to. I'm compelled, almost like I used to be compelled to go get my drugs. Now, is that healthy? I think it's a lot healthier than the drugs, right? Is it still a drug-seeking behavior? I don't know. I'm going to ask Ann about that. Where's the line there?
No, I don't think it's I don't think it's an addiction. I mean, it's something, you find peace, you connect with nature, and you want to do it every day. Isn't that similar to somebody who, exercises every day? For me, I say start out for people, first of all, had desires and things that they really loved when they were younger. And I always say, look back and maybe you like to, I'll go to drawing because that's what I like to do. Maybe you like to draw and you never did it while you were using. So, and maybe you're saying, oh, I can't draw. I say, get some art stuff and draw. But another really good thing is, take a walk. I mean, that's so simple. You don't have to, pressure yourself to walk so many miles like everybody's always doing. I'll get out there and walk. I say, start out small. And the really amazing thing about walking, usually that's not where people are going to go, oh my God, that's too much. Every day you get out there and walk a little bit, you go a little further, you go a little further. And another thing you notice is that you have energy and your mind hasn't even been on, I want to drink or I need some Coke. So, for me, I would always suggest walking for people because it's very easy. And then, through that walk, you might decide you connect with nature too, or you like to take pictures. Hey, I saw some dogs running around the neighborhood. Maybe I'll take pictures of random dogs, So, I think it's a process and, maybe it doesn't sound like much. Oh, I'm walking, but believe me, it does your body good. And it takes away some of those, times when you're like, oh, I really want to use. And I will say, pray. Because God will, interject and help you get through that craving. And sometimes it's 1 second at a time. So,
right. Little John, what do you think? Do you have activities that help, break the craving to any of the addictions that you have?
Well, I have a good friend that owns a garage and he lets me hang out there. I'm not working, I'm not getting paid. But I started this about 4 weeks ago, and 4 weeks ago, when I used to bend down to pick up a tool off the ground, I would be dizzy when I stood back up. And after 4 weeks now, I can get up and down like Ann was just talking about. My body feels so good. And I have so much more energy, but then there's times where I can't focus. I don't know. I don't understand that. I just can't focus on things. I'm like, where did I put that? I just had it, It's kind of like Tom, but I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, you're good. JB, what do you got any activities that you think people could partake in that might help them out with?
Yeah. For me, I think it was about getting gratification, like almost an instant gratification to fill that hole that you talk about, especially when it comes to, smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol. That's pretty much the biggest things that I've had to deal with. And if you can find something that gives you the gratification and keeps your mind busy, one of the things was going walking, hiking and taking pictures and stuff like that. I like doing that. It keeps your mind occupied. You're looking for the squirrels, you're looking for the birds, and you're not thinking about those things. And it's something for me that was not associated with those other things, right? And then also, it seems counterintuitive, but woodworking. I started woodworking, and I would always have a beer when I was woodworking, but I would not drink the beer because my hands were busy. So I would dump out more warm beer than I would drink. And then it seems like that's not an instant gratification thing. If you woodwork, that there's a lot of labor involved and you don't see the final product for maybe weeks. But one thing I was doing was posting pictures on Facebook, and my father would look at that and he would try to figure out what I'm building and stuff like that. So the back and forth, every day I would send updates. Unfortunately, once he passed, I stopped doing that. Probably would be good if I got back into it once I get my tools out of storage. But that was a good thing, was that daily updates, and then seeing my dad's response and things like that kept my mind busy. And it was something I didn't associate with the guys and hanging out and, those triggers that made me want to just go back into the old habits. So.
Nice, Jay. Nice. 6. What do you, some good surrogate activities for people or trying to get their mind off their addictions?
The number one force in my life that's brought me the most good, I'd say, is music. Music has always been a refuge for me, finding ways to enjoy music with other people, regardless if it's playing music with them or going to shows. It's always been a positive for me. That losing out on that culture in 2020 had a tremendous effect on me psychologically. And just knowing that whenever the mandates were coming in and they were going to have people pushed out of shows who wouldn't take the shots and other things at the time, really affected my viewpoint on what that culture meant to me and the time that I spent in it. But it's still undeniable to me that music has been probably the biggest support that I've had in coping with anything in my life. And then also the physical things, like what Ann brought up about walking and Jason with hiking. I take plenty of long walks. I have a nice little loop over where I'm at, and I'm able to walk about 4 miles in a session. And it takes me a little over an hour. So it's a nice little walk.
Mhm.
Nice.
That's great.
Mr. Cooper.
Dude, I love my job, so working keeps my mind off all that. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent.
Keeps my mind off of everything, dude.
Yeah, no, yeah. You know, what I do is the same thing. It's pretty mentally taxing sometimes, so I have to really focus on what I'm doing. I have some really good comments from Levi over here. I want to throw a couple of them out there. I also there's a couple people in the chat I want to thank also for welcoming me back. I think it was Marianne. I'm not sure. I'm jumping between two Rumble chats, guys, so forgive me. But Levi said this. I found this really, really interesting. 2 comments he made. And Levi is Narrow Gates Ministries. So each person is different in who they are, who their parents are, who their ancestry is, what their upbringing is, what struggles and battles they faced. All these can impact vices and behaviors. And then he goes on to say, now this is spiritual. The spirit of rejection also plays a huge part in addiction. It is one area which people often hide because it hurts so much. That's right. You are right about that, Levi. Only through the love of Christ can the spirit of rejection be overcome. And then Brian Taylor went on to say, of yourself, you can do nothing, but through Christ, all things are possible. So the higher, I'm Christian. These guys are Christian. There's some people who aren't Christian. They're included in this because we're Christians and we should love them too. You know, whoever your higher power is, you better get with, you need that. I hate to say this. You can't do this alone. I hate saying that. I hate, because I'm one of those guys. I try to do everything alone. I don't want your help. I want to do everything myself. I'm stubborn as heck when it comes to stuff. And that's just the way I am. So it's hard for me to say that, but these guys are right. You can't do this alone. And I think Ann can speak to that just because of the, she's been in this profession, of addiction counseling. You got to have a friend somewhere to do this.
Yeah. Isolation is the worst, really. And, I think women too, feel like I can do this. Those kinds of things hold people back from speaking to somebody that may help them. I think everybody needs to be kind to themselves. So when they're trying to quit, I think that a lot of people in addiction are really hard on themselves. They expect that everything is going to come overnight. And, you think about how long it took you to get where you are. It takes a little while. And, many people just say, okay, I'm going to quit and everything's going to be great. And then, you realize, oh no, life is still out there, throwing things at me, and how can I cope with them? So I would just really encourage anybody struggling with, I should be, doing better than this. You're going to have bad days. Everybody has bad days. And it's what you do with that, whether that, reaching out or some of the things that people have mentioned here, just don't don't be so hard on yourself. We all have bad days. And we also go backwards, 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. I mean, we're human beings, right?
Right.
So, be kind and take it a day at a time, because that really, that's been used so much, but I think that's so realistic for everybody in their life. We only have this moment, we only have this time, and we have to make the best of it. We can't continue to worry about what's going to happen next week. I'm not saying don't plan or look at things that you might have to address. I'm just saying try to live, one day at a time. That makes it a lot less stressful, because I know you mentioned, stress and the things that are going on, and, living in the day is much easier than worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, because who knows, right? What's going to happen tomorrow.
There's a couple things, I wanted to touch on there. Number one, you have to be able to love yourself and forgive yourself. And when I say love yourself, I'm not talking in the sense that we talk about how our society is in the love of self in a religious aspect. I'm talking about in a personal aspect, where you got to you have to be able to forgive yourself for the behavior that you have going on. If you can't get past that, you've got a long, hard road to go. You know what I mean? And that's something that a lot of people, they never get over that. It took me a long time to like, okay, so if I remember I was clean for probably 5-6 years, and I went out to Detroit and I set up a fireworks stand, and I said, I'm going to get all the money back that I gave these people, these drug dealers out here. And I'm going to, with a fireworks stand. Plus I wanted to bring fireworks to Detroit. Nobody would go out there and sell fireworks, because, I guess they didn't think those people deserved fireworks. But I remember I seen it was a girl, and she was a crack addict, and I projected. I'm like, she came on the property that I was running. I'm like, get off my property right now. And all these, the guys working with me were like, what's your problem, man? Why, Frank, Frank, why are you being an idiot to this person? I'm like, that's a crackhead right there. I don't want, I hate crackheads. And you know what I was saying? I wasn't saying I hated that girl. I wasn't saying I hated crackheads. I was saying I hated myself. And still 5 years being sober off of that stuff, I still had not resolved all the issues that I had from being an addict for all those years. And it was something that slapped me in the face, So I think it's important that all of us learn to love ourselves a little bit, before you can't go on hating yourself for this addiction thing. You have to move on. You have to find a way to carry on. And that's something that it's important. It's super important that people realize that, we're human beings, and going more towards the spiritual side of this. I believe addiction it is a way for demons or the devil to get into you and work through you. I really do. I think the devil is happy when you're in that spot and you're hating yourself and you're not participating in the world and you're hurting your loved ones and you're hurting people around you. I think that there's definitely an evil overtone to addiction. What do you think? We'll go, Little John. What do you think?
It's just
there's
evil. I in the last 4 weeks, I've been going. I have a good person and I have a bad person in me, and they keep fighting each other. That's why I can't focus on anything. I'm out. I mean, go ahead, JB or Tiger or whatever.
JB.
Okay, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I'm going to give a little personal of myself here, of late. Self-worth is the word. Okay. And, Tiger knows what I went through. I went from having soldiers that respected me and, being the only breadwinner in the household and taking care of everybody. And I felt good about myself. I had a purpose. I had a reason. Then all of a sudden I shift gears to a different, it was the last unit I was in where I had no soldiers. And then I was treated like a piece of shit. Pardon the language, but because I wasn't a team player and I didn't get the jab, I wasn't allowed to go do my job. I tried really hard to make a difference to the National Guard that I worked with, and I couldn't go see them and visit them and help them train. Basically felt like a piece of garbage. And then once the family left and they came out here to Missouri, I'm all alone. I lost my sense of self-worth. And I kind of got in a dark place there for a minute. If it wasn't for a friend, if it wasn't for my counselor, Angry Tiger, calling me up and saying, hey, JB, man, you're kind of overdoing it. And thank you for that, Tiger. You pulled me out of a rut. But always have your self-worth. And Nero Levi, he says in the chat, where are your accusers? And this was directed to you, Ann, kind of quoting, talking about what you're talking about. Where are your accusers? Neither do I. Christ condemn you. Go and sin no more, etc. And I think that's the thing. We have to have self-worth and understand that we are important. If anything, just for ourselves, even, And I think I lost that for a little bit, and I want people not to lose that. Right now, it's my grandson. So
nice. God bless Jay.
Yeah.
6. What do you think of the self-worth, the ego, all that stuff?
Well, I was already planning on saying this, and I'm glad that Jason had the opportunity to say what he did beforehand, because I think it helps me out and putting this idea over that if you have the ability to stop and assess what you're doing, please look at the purpose to what your daily practices are. If you look at the time that you spend and the things that it amounts to, does it amount to good for you and the people around you that you care about, or does it end up in harm? And how can you minimize that harm? And then as soon as you're capable of that, think of how you can apply that in a greater sense too, by the type of person that you are, the promises that you can keep, and then also even a legacy that you can leave. So I definitely feel for what you said before, though, Tiger, with seeing a broken down lady or whomever it might be, like a truck stop somewhere. I've done a lot of traveling in my life, and when you come across the homelessness and you come across the people that have lived a really hard life, there's a great Kubla Khan song called Swan Song, and it talks about those experiences of running into people like that at truck stops. And it's just, I used to think, and I used to have this mindset where just like, if the right amount of socialization, if the right amount of opportunity would come around, that maybe these people could turn themselves around and turn their life around and over. And I think that some of us, we have to admit that not everyone is on that path. Not all things can be turned around, but you try to. I think that's more of a real way of looking at it, that I wish that I love animals. I wish that I could save every puppy that's out there right now that's starving. I would do what I could, but there's only so much extent to where you could help somebody. There's only so much you can do to convince somebody to take the right path and stop harming themselves, especially when that's something that's deeply ingrained in all of us as human beings. So the fact that anyone here would even have the presence of mind and the opportunity to assess what you're doing, if you still have that within you, then you probably have the power to turn it around.
Right. That's excellent, 6. Thank you for that, man. Tom, what do you think, man, of the, looking at yourself and making sure you take care of yourself and all that? Is there something, I talk to you a lot, and I am asking you a loaded question, which I already know the answer to, but what do you do to take care of yourself, to love yourself? Like stretching is one of the things you told me you do. There's let the audience know a little bit. Give us some insight.
Well, before I met my wife, I used to do a lot of fishing. So that was like one thing that would keep me,
We're going to have to talk
Well,
about
dude,
that.
all I'm going to say is you have to learn how to love yourself. If you can't do that, then you're going to have problems. And I don't mean to sound egotistical, because it is kind of egotistical, and I have a big ego at times, and that gets me in trouble. And sometimes I need to learn how to work on that, But yeah, you got to love yourself, man, because if you don't, you're going to have problems.
Nice. How long have we been on? Because my ticker, everything is
54 minutes.
crazy. How long?
54 minutes, 45
Okay,
seconds.
I want to touch one more thing here, and then we'll get going here soon. But there, I love dogs. All right, and I as silly as this is going to sound, I don't agree with the guy's political stuff. That's not why I don't care about his political stuff. There's a guy out there named Cesar Millan. I'm sure all of you have heard of him. He's called the Dog Whisperer. Okay, and when he started talking about dog psychology on his show, I got really interested in dog psychology. So I got interested in the dog psychology, and then I got interested in animal psychology, and I found something out really special about animals, and I think it gives them a little bit of an edge. And I think that if we're in our natural settings, maybe more of an agrarian, family-based kind of relationship, you know, with the earth and with everything else, I believe that we'd be able to do this too. But long story short is they live in the now. They live in right this instant. My dog is, when I'm walking my dog, he is thinking about what he's smelling, where his master is, where we're at in the park, what tree he's going to pee on, right? Where he's going to poop. And it's only in the now. And animals, they react to only in the now. And I'm not saying that's not, you know, you have to plan for your future and all that, but there's a certain level of awareness that throughout the day, if you are, and we are all self-aware people where, you know, you're lucid of your own existence, that you start getting into the future, you start going into the past, and you forget about the now. You know, what's going on now? And that can create all kinds of problems, because if you're not paying attention to me, I'll cut my finger off, all right? Or, you know, something like that. Little John, a car could fall on him. Tom could, like, you know, plumb someone's toilet wrong where it shoots poop out instead of taking poop down, right? I mean, I know that can't happen. I'm just trying to be funny. But there's so many bad things because you're not right now here in the now. And so I think that there's something to that. And I want to do a lightning round on that, and then we'll get going here. But I want to thank everybody in the chat too. We're going to call it the chat people. But so, Ann, what do you think of this? Is there something to what I said, a negative, a positive? Should I have said that or?
No, absolutely. I think I said it just in a little bit of a different way. You know, living in the day. And I just want to let you know, I actually saw Caesar live several years ago. What I find interesting is, like, he talks about, it's really, you know, he trains us because our dogs pick up on stressors and all that. So I think he's pretty incredible. I wish, you know, he could be in every household to teach us all how to be calm and live our lives that way. So, you know, I think a lot of really good things were said here. And I want to go back just one topic is like forgiveness and forgiving yourself and remembering that, you know, when I drank, used, whatever, I behaved this way. Without those poisons in my body, I no longer do that. So, you know, once you can forgive yourself for the past, you'll be able to forgive others too. But that's not going to happen until you forgive yourself first, you know?
Excellent.
So.
Nice. Little John, thoughts?
My wife keeps telling me, and we've been together almost 36 years, but I'm still living in the 80s. That's it for me there. I'm still living in the 80s. They were great.
Well, let's drag you into the now, Little John. We're gonna drag you kicking and screaming into 2023 AD. It's not a pretty place, but it'll be okay. You have friends here. JB, what do you think of that living in the now thing? I mean,
well, I'm not an avid reader. Like, I don't read a whole bunch of stuff like Tony Arterburn or anything like that. But when I was in my early 20s, I did read a book that talked about living in the now. And if you can imagine the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey, it was kind of that mentality of, and I thought it was wacky at the time because I'm pretty much almost homeless on the streets. And I think I got the book from like a used dollar store or something, but it was an intriguing book about taking on new things. And it wound up using some of that philosophy. I met some new people. I got into a church, and then I eventually got a job, and then I wasn't homeless. And then I got into the military. It kind of changed my life. Now I don't subscribe to like say yes to everything, but when it comes to this situation we're talking about, addiction and stuff, it's very applicable because saying yes to something you normally wouldn't might get you into that new habit that gets you away from your old habits. And I think that's the key when it comes to addiction is just developing new habits. What did you, Ann said it was like 30 days. You know, if you can go 30 days with something new, now you've replaced that, you filled in that hole. And I don't know, talking about it kind of brings me back to reading that book.
Yeah.
Excellent, Jason.
Stepping
Excellent.
out of
Thank
your
you.
comfort zone definitely is, it's not an easy thing, but you might find that you like whatever you're, scared of.
It's a fight, and I've realized it's a fight, and there is no like I have one or two, or I could do three. No, it's just like stop. That's what I say. Just stop.
Nice.
To be calm, John, breathe, day at a time. Sounds like you're being really hard on yourself.
I've been doing
brother.
Yeah. I
Lighten
love you
up a
guys.
little
I
bit.
really do. I mean, I don't say that to everybody. Everybody here in the chat, I'm not looking at the chat, but I love you.
Nice. Number 6. Final thoughts.
Well, I'm glad I was able to be a part of this tonight. I think that all the different things that we've talked about, to end on something about being in the present, I would refer people to Alan Watts and his eternal now concept, something that I was introduced to through a metal band called Cynic. So it's strange pathways to get there, of course, but always with me. I think that part of talking about this as a fight, that's a fight that I think we all wanted in a way. I think that that's what drives us to make better of it and to have conversations like this and to document them for other people to be able to access and maybe make changes in their own life, because you want something to come of that fight. You want something good out of it. There's a big fight right now in our culture between utility and morality. And I think all of us being here and trying to do good for others is a testament to morality. So thank you for having me.
Oh no, it's and number 6. Where can everybody find you, by the way?
You could find me on all TMP platforms. We also do a TMP Live every Friday, which I host. That's usually with Lisa Belanger and our good friend Chris Graves, the Mastodon, as you call him, which is great. And then we also are home to Conspiring with Mr. Cooper, which is a show that's been lighting the world on fire, and just doing great shows. And we also distribute your great work, sir. So yeah, it's becoming a pretty fun place. And we just reached another little milestone today, 500 followers on Rumble alone.
Nice.
So yeah, we're just growing as a platform. A lot of great guests on different shows, and we're looking to expand. So it's an exciting time at TMP and the future, which is TMP Productions and what we're looking to do there. So
awesome.
Stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Tom, where I mean, 6 just said where they could find you. Any final thoughts, by the way, brother?
Living in the moment, that's a tough one, dude. But it could be done. We got so much stuff going on right now. You know what I mean? Headwise, and people telling us stuff that we, whatever. For me, it's not as hard to live in the moment as it is for most, because I don't pay attention to none of that shit. So
right.
I just hang out with my wife and go to work, dude. You know what I mean?
I'm hip.
I stay home. I stay home now because there's just way too much BS going on out there, and I get like a lot of times I can't even just go down to the street without getting in a confrontation or an accident or something. It's just I just stay at home, dude. It's safer that way.
I'm hip. Thank you, Tom, for sharing that. And everybody, don't forget about Conspiring with Mr. Cooper, 8 p.m. Eastern time on TNP platforms. Mr. Barker, final thoughts and where people can find you, please.
The living in the now can be tough. But we just gotta, for me, the best thing I do every day. And it's something that gives me a reason to not be self-loathing in the basement. Right. My grandson enjoys jumping in the the back of I got like a tough wagon that I can hook up to my lawnmower, and our mailbox is about a quarter mile up the road, and we take a ride every day to go check the mail. And that's what I live for every day. But yeah, you can find me. Just go to thenightsofthestorm.com and you'll see our schedule there. And it includes everybody. It includes everyone on TNP. It includes David Knight. It includes basically all the people we hang out with and do shows with. So go check it out.
Yeah, and the Foxhole Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll do it for you, dang nabbit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got
Guard.
We got Guard and Audi on tomorrow to talk music.
Oh,
so,
wow. That'll be
yeah.
really cool. Exciting.
Yep.
Little John, final thoughts, and then we're going to get out of here. I'm going to thank the chat, and I got a final thought for everybody. And
My final thought is I want to thank Ann for being on with me. And I've always thought you were a very smart, intelligent person. And I'm glad we're friends on one of our little things that we're on. Mr. Cooper, thank you, sir. Thank you, Ann. Thank you very much.
And did I give you final thoughts, Ann?
You did. I did, but I would like to jump in because,
Sure.
when I sit here every month with you guys and you tell your stories, like it just reminds me why I had gone into counseling in the first place. And I learned a lot of things through that. But the main thing that I loved is to see people working at, bettering their lives and being happy. And when I hear your stories, I don't know, you guys are amazing, whether you realize it or not, how far you've come, because a lot of people don't get there. So I appreciate being able to be on here, and hopefully, I say something that will help somebody, but appreciate all of you so much. And, I'm so thankful that you're clean and sober.
Oh, we love you, Ann, and you are a blessing to us. And I was so grateful to you that you do this with me. I really am. Thank you so much. I mean, we could not do this without you, really. And I want to thank everybody in the Rumble chat. We had Harlan Stonewall. We got Levi of Narrow Gates, Narrow Way, Narrow Gate Ministries. We've got Brian Taylor. We've got Gardner Goldsmith. If I'm missing anybody, Jay, let me know. We got Rhonda Tate in the YouTube chat. White Wolf. We got Vince Agnelli. Arisha M. and Marianne, thank you for welcoming me back. And I want to thank everybody again for all the prayers and concern. I think we got everything under control. I really appreciate that. And my final thoughts is, everybody, number one, if you're an addict now, do not be ashamed of yourself. Reach out, look for some help. If you're watching this show, you want to talk to one of us, I'm Angry Tigers Den on Twitter. You can DM me, angrytigersden@gmail.com. You can email me. Feel free to email me. I will hook you up with, I'm sure Ann will be happy to talk to you. Any of us will be able to talk to you. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Another thing is look into yourself, okay? And believe that you are not alone. God is with you, and so are we. So don't be shy, ladies and gentlemen, please. If you want to come on the addiction episode, we do this once a month. We can have up to 9 people here. Come on. If you want us to share your story, or you have an inspirational story, email it to me at angrytigersden@gmail.com. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, remember, time is your most valuable commodity. Cherish it. Try not to waste it. Spend it doing something you love, with someone you love, improving yourself, or preferably all 3 of those things. I want to thank the panel and all the viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again.
Knowledge by itself is not. Behold the venom. Your time is your most valuable commodity. Cherish it and use it wisely. Until we meet again.
I'm trying to end the stream, guys. I'm trying to end the stream with no mouse. I'm just going to shut everything down, guys. That's the only way I can do it. I'm sorry.
Have a good night.
All right.
All right. Take care, all. Good show, Tiger. Thanks.
I'll see you all later. Be careful.
Peace.
Peace. Peace is the word.